Roosevelt, Astor, Forbes, Yale, Harvard. You know these names. What you don't know, they all got rich the exact same way. Flooding China with opium, thousands of tons, millions addicted, 400% profit, and then they spent 200 years making sure you'd never find out. Until now, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president on Mount Rushmore, the man who saved America from the Great Depression. His family fortune came from selling drugs, hard drugs, opium, millions of addicts, millions dead. And the Roosevelts got rich, very rich. And they weren't alone. The Astors, the wealthiest family in America. Drug money, Forbes magazine, built on opium profits. Yale's Skull and Bones, funded by drug smugglers. Harvard buildings, paid for with Chinese opium silver. Some of the most powerful families in American history, the institutions that educate our leaders, the dynasties that still run this country, all of it was built by flooding China with drugs, industrial scale, thousands of tons, 400% profit margins. And then they buried the evidence, rewrote the history books, built libraries and museums with the blood money, and made sure you'd never find out, until now, because the shipping records exist, the letters survive, the account books are in archives, and what they reveal is that America's aristocracy, the families we're taught to respect, made their fortunes doing exactly what we imprison people for today. Except they did it to an entire country, poisoned millions, destroyed the Chinese economy, and got so rich they could erase it from history. This is the story they don't want you to know. The drug dealers who became American royalty, and how they got away with it for 200 years. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 32nd President of the United States, led America through the Great Depression and World War II. His face is on Mount Rushmore alongside Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. An American hero. But here's what they don't teach you in school. The fortune that funded FDR's privileged upbringing, his education at Harvard, his entry into politics, all of it came from drug money. His grandfather, Warren Delano II, made millions smuggling opium into China. Millions of Chinese became addicted. Millions died. And the Delano family got rich, very rich. And they weren't alone. The Astors, the richest family in America in the 1800s. Opium money, the Forbes family. Yes, that Forbes built their publishing empire on opium profits. The Perkins family funded Yale University with opium money. The Cabot family, Boston Brahmins, opium traders. The Russell family founded Skull and Bones at Yale University. Opium smugglers. Some of the most powerful, most respected, most influential families in American history built their fortunes selling drugs. Not just participating, dominating. American companies controlled 10% of the opium trade into China by the 1830s. We're talking tons of opium, hundreds of millions of dollars, an entire generation of Chinese destroyed by addiction, and American families got so rich they founded universities, museums, and political dynasties that still run the country today. This is the story no one tells. How America's elite families made their fortunes in the opium trade, how they whitewashed that history, and how the same families that got rich selling drugs then spent a century criminalizing drugs for everyone else. The hypocrisy is staggering, and the proof is undeniable. Before we go through the families, you need to understand what the opium trade actually was, not the sanitized museum version, the reality. In the early 1800s, Britain had a problem. They were buying massive amounts of tea, silk, and porcelain from China, but China didn't want anything Britain produced, so Britain was paying in silver, draining their reserves. They needed something to sell to China, something Chinese people would buy in massive quantities. They found it. Opium. Grown in British-controlled India, refined into smokable form and smuggled into China where it was illegal. The Chinese government had banned opium. They knew it was poison, but British and American traders didn't care. The profit margins were 400, 500%. You could buy opium in India for $100, smuggle it into China, and sell it for $500, $600. Risk was high. Chinese authorities would execute smugglers if caught, but the profits were worth it, and American families wanted in. Because American ships were faster than British ships. Clipper ships, built for speed. Perfect for outrunning Chinese naval patrols and delivering opium to secret coastal locations. American captains would sail to British India, load up with thousands of pounds of opium, sail to the Chinese coast, and wait offshore at designated anchorage points. Chinese smugglers would row out in small boats, take the opium, pay in silver. The American ships never technically entered Chinese ports, plausible deniability, and the silver flowed back to America, tons of it. This went on for decades, 1800s to 1840s before the Opium Wars, then continued after. Millions of Chinese became addicted. The Chinese economy was devastated. Silver was flowing out of China into British and American coffers. And in America, the families getting rich from this used the money to build legitimate empires. Let's look at who they were. Let's start with the most famous, the Delanos, FDR's family. Warren Delano II was born in 1809 in Massachusetts. At 19 years old, he went to China to work for a trading company. By age 24, he was a partner in Russell and Company, the largest American opium trading firm in China. Russell and Company wasn't just participating in opium trade. They dominated American involvement. They had offices in Canton, Guangzhou. They had clipper ships. They had connections with British opium growers in India, and they made millions.